We like belts that are fun. Hello, and welcome to Updog Sports Talk, official NASCAR temporary sponsors on the ARCA series. We are on the back of a NASCAR, baby.
Yeah.
That you heard is from Justin McGovern, as always. What's up, dude?
Hey, we are thrilled to be on a NASCAR. If you have not been following along on our social medias, make sure you are. We'll be hyping this up a little bit more tomorrow as well. But that is not why you're here tonight, as much as we really want to talk about this. We are here to continue our college football season review series. We are a podcast that prides in talking about everyone in college football. So we have covered the SEC, the Big Ten, the Independents, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. And now we are on to what really sets us apart from any other podcast you listen to. We are ready to cover the American, the Sun Belt, and Maction in the exact same way.
Yeah. And if you're new to the channel, we were founded in COVID, and we got sick and tired of bigger networks focusing solely on the LeBron Jameses, the LA Lakers, the LA Dodgers, the Tom Brady's back then, just the top players and teams in each league. We want to represent everybody, so we try to spend as close to an equal amount of time on everybody as we can. Hence why we're doing all these grades, so we can spend the same amount of time on every team. So yeah, we are here today to talk football. Justin, what conference are we starting off with?
Next, we move on to
the Fun Belt
action. Yeah. All right. We
like belts that are fun.
As a reminder, we are doing this in alphabetical order. So we are starting with Appalachian State. Appalachian State was a team that entering 2024, we were thinking this team could be a college football playoff contender. There's a lot of experience back, a lot of good players back. This team looks pretty good. And then, they played an FCS opponent, East Tennessee State, their opener. Kind of, they won that, but it was kind of like, okay, you guys beat them, but it wasn't as convincing as you wanted. And then came the Clemson game. Clemson was just coming off getting thrashed by Georgia. A lot of people thought, maybe Appalachian State could pull the upset here. And it was shut down from the start. Like, Appalachian State was down 42-0 so fast. Like, partway through the second quarter fast. And at that moment, it was apparent, oh, wait, this may not be the Appalachian State we're used to seeing. It was not. They ended up 5-6. How would you grade your season?
Well, first of all, over the last, I think the stat that I saw was like 15 years. They have 100 wins, which is like 7th among FBS programs. So they do have a good program. I think this was a bit of a weird year because they had an absolutely tragic thing happen to their hometown. They had a massive hurricane come, send massive flooding through the area. And I think at that point, which is why they are 5-6 and not 6-6 or 5-7 or whatever would have happened with the Liberty game. I think that derailed them a little bit. And I think their focus was not on football anymore for the rest of the season. So I give them a D+. They did have a good win against James Madison. But outside of that, like I said, their focus wasn't on football. Their focus was on rebuilding their community.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very, very tough circumstances there for sure. Um, and they definitely, I think late in the year, they kind of rallied a little bit, want to be a little bit of a bright spot to the community. So they've been strong. That's what led to the D plus. Obviously, they ended up in the D range because their coach ended up getting fired at the end of it all. Um, strictly speaking to on the field here, I think one of the things that very much surprised me about this team was, you know, what was going on in the trenches. They were not they were they were getting run over on defense, and the offense couldn't run the ball. And it was very surprising having a head coach that was a former offensive line coach and struggling in that area. So I think that was kind of shocking about this team, but they have a new head coach in here now. I don't think we're going to see them down long. So everyone else in the Sun Belt better get their punches in now.
Yeah.
Next, we look at the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Ended up having this team. Okay, for one, this team loved one score games.
Oh yeah, loved them.
Yeah. So they went 8-5. I'm gonna need to pull up real quick how they did in one score games because
They won every single one score game. They got blown out in every loss.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Old Dominion, they lost by 8.
Yeah. So okay. So Old Dominion was their one score loss, but yeah, they. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4,
7.
5, 6, 7. Yeah. So seven one score wins for this team. That is incredible.
Yeah, I give them a B. I think overall it was a solid season. Don't know what the heck happened against Old Dominion. Don't know what the heck happened against Louisiana, though Louisiana was a very good football team this year. Don't know what happened against Texas State either. And then getting blown out by Michigan and Iowa State early in the year, I can understand that a little bit.
Hey, look at that Michigan score. That was only a 10-point game. I don't think they got blown out there.
Okay, whatever. If you really watch that game, they weren't really in it, but they were in it. But there was a couple head scratching games, and I think if they would have been able to keep these one score games how they were, and then maybe figured it out better against Old Dominion, figured it out better against at least Texas State, we're talking about a different football team here.
Yeah. I think I gave them a B. They didn't have the best team, but at the same time, all these one score wins tells me I think this team reached the ceiling of what they could have done. When the teams that they lost to very clearly seemed to have too much offensive talent. I think, when a team had a lot of guys on offense, I don't think they were able to keep up defensively. That's probably the side of the ball where they're the weakest at this point. So that's kind of where they need to work on that. But, I think they just simply weren't able to keep up with those teams. I think those are the best. Those are the most talented teams in their schedule. Yes, that does count Old Dominion. The record is a bit. We'll talk about them later, but the record was a bit deceiving because of a tough schedule. So those are a lot of the most talented teams that they played that blew them out. So I gave them a B. I think they want to eventually work into a team that's worthy of contending for the Sun Belt, but for right now, I think they maximize what they could do. Now, next we look at Coastal Carolina, and is it me, Matt, or does it feel like we're kind of seeing Coastal Carolina kind of start to slip away a little bit?
They're slipping away, but they did lose their quarterback to NC State. So can't really blame them a whole lot when your star player leaves. But I give them a C. I mean, other than the blowout loss at home in a bowl game to UTSA, They had a good start to the season, and then just kind of didn't do a whole lot in conference play.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of got it for me because they looked pretty good to start out the year, especially like the first, I would say at least the first 3 games. They opened up with that shocking blowout of eventual Conference USA champion Jacksonville State. That was an eye opener to me, and I was like, "Hey, this Coastal Carolina team could be pretty good." And they rolled past William and Mary. They were a little bit sloppy, but still beat Temple. They're still 3-0 heading into the Virginia game, and it was like, this team, if they could beat Virginia, like we're talking about them as a serious contender. And then that was kind of the point where it started to fall apart. They got blown up by Virginia. They got a little bit better from then on. They got a little bit better against Old Dominion, but then it collapsed the rest of the year pretty much. So, I'm getting worried that we're starting to see them slide more and more. They're struggling to figure out the quarterback position. They lost McCall to NC State. Now, this year, they kind of flipped between 2 guys. I think both guys transferred out after the season. So, there's definitely a lot of question marks moving forward about where this program's going. But I'm definitely worried. I gave them a C for this year, by the way, but I'm definitely getting worried that, they're starting to drop off a little bit.
And there's a wildfire not too far from campus.
Yeah, that's not good.
Nope.
I'm going there in the month.
Be safe. Be careful, Justin.
Yeah, which I don't know. I feel like from what I saw, at least the field's open, so I'm hoping to step on that teal turf.
That'd be dope. You got to get a live video. Live from Coastal Carolina.
Yes.
Uh,
Georgia Southern. The Eagles, entered the season with, I was kind of wondering, is Clay Helton going to get this team into Sun Belt contention? And the answer was sort of. They ended up 8-5, very solid record. How would you grade their season?
I'm gonna go B+. They did have a solid season. They didn't really handle business in the latter half. They lost to some teams they probably shouldn't have. But 8-5 is a respectable record for Georgia Southern. I can't recall the last time they were this good. But yeah, they had a solid year. I look forward to seeing what they can do going forward, though.
Yeah, I give them a B. I was mostly happy with how they did. It's been a few down years, I would say, for them lately. This is a proud football program that expects to contend at the top of the Sun Belt, and I think they're making their way there. But yeah, I did end up docking them as well for some of those late season losses. They still had their no-show game. This time was against Old Dominion. Losing to Troy was not something that they could afford when trying to stay in the Sun Belt race. So those losses were definitely frustrating for them. And then, of course, the other problem under Clay Helton is, losing their bowl game as well. That's become a pattern too. So those are kind of disappointing, but overall, this team looked really good. They definitely had a lot of good points. Beating Marshall definitely had to feel good. And yeah, 8-5 was pretty solid. So I gave him a B. Now, next team, the other team in Georgia State, the Panthers. They ended the season with no expectations. Kind of a difficult situation.
They ended the season with no expectations.
This was the team with the late season coaching change. Their coach left for an assistant position kind of late in the cycle. Del McGee took over. Good hire, better hire than expected for that late in the cycle. But again, It was what could we expect from this team? You can give your grade.
Uh, I give them a D minus for the sole reason that they beat Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt had some good wins. So
You were
I'll give them
considering an F?
huh?
So wait, without the Vanderbilt win, you were considering an F?
Yeah. Their only other win was against Texas State and Chattanooga.
What were
I
they
feel like
supposed to do? The coach took over I think January or February.
do better, play better.
They had no chance. They lost so many players. Like this is their like keep in mind when their coach left for an assistant position, like this is not like their coach just decided to go and do that. Like he went back to a program he was familiar with because they were already losing so many players that he saw the writing on the wall and got out. That was what happened here. So I gave him a C because, you know, I mean, my baseline was kind of like a C minus because, you know, the season wasn't going to be great from the beginning. But, you know, I gave him a slight boost because they did beat Vanderbilt, which was very random and very good. Um, that was far and away their best effort this year, and definitely lands as one of the most random results of the college football season. But yeah, really wasn't a whole lot of hope for them entering the year. I think, you know, it's all about building for next season and the year after. I would almost consider 2024 as like kind of like a year zero kind of situation.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we look at the James Madison Dukes.
Yeah.
So, you know, ever since joining FBS, this has been a program that's consistently at the top. You know, they entered this year, new head coach, but same high expectations. They did not win the Sun Belt, but they went 9-4. How would you grade your season?
I actually had a hat for this special occasion of going over James Madison, but it got swept up in the tornado that is called a toddler. Um, so I give them a very he's going with the same hat that I have. I'm going with a very solid B plus. Wanted to see a stronger finish to the season. Didn't end up happening. I feel like if they didn't lose their coach, their former coach, Google him, he wins. I feel like they could have gone. I think they could have been very close to college football playoff because they had a solid team, new coaching staff, finished 9-4. Can't blame them too much.
Yeah. Now to the viewers are seeing this for the first time that I switched to the James Madison hat. Seeing that it only shows the speaker. Yeah, James Madison had to. There's also a switch up because like they lost a lot of players too. You know, a lot of their top guys followed Signetti to Indiana, and obviously we saw how good they were because they went to the college football playoff. You know, despite that, James Madison stayed in contention. I gave them a B just because, you know, it looked like ultimately this team was capable of contending for the Sun Belt. You know, I mean, there was the impressive game against North Carolina, led 53 to 21 at halftime of that game, won 70 to 50. It was very weird just kind of watching what happened with their offense because, you know, then they put up 63 on Ball State, but around those two games was a 13-6 win over Gardner Webb and a 21-19 loss to UL Monroe. Like their offense was just so on and off at times. And, you know, the road struggles kind of hurt them. So I gave them a B. You know, it was very solid, capable of more. Just a few different things they need to sort out. But I mean, still looking good. This is definitely easily one of the top programs in this conference. And you cannot mention Sun Belt contenders without mentioning James Madison at this point.
Nope.
Now we look at the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. They went 10-4 and lost in the Sun Belt Championship and also lost in the New Mexico Bowl to TCU. How would you grade your season?
I give them an A plus because a lot of people didn't see this coming. And I feel like majority of their games, like they did have a lot of close games, but the majority of their games, you could just feel during the game that they were going to win it. Now they did end the season on a low note, but I think they had a fantastic season, and if they can keep this going, they can definitely contend for years to come.
Yeah, kind of felt like under their coach, when he took over after Billy Napier left, like it kind of took like a couple year reset a little bit to kind of retool themselves, and now it felt like they finally hit that point where it's like, okay, we're back to contending for Sunbelt titles. I gave them an A minus. I think what really the game that really gets me is you had that chance. You had the Sun Belt Championship in your place and did not win it. So I docked them slightly for that. Not a huge deduction. Again, ended up with an A minus. So still a very good season for the Raging Cajuns. But just you would have liked to see them defend their home turf more. This team went undefeated in true road games.
Yeah,
All three losses were at home.
and that's strange.
See that? Yeah. Yeah, very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. But yeah, other than that, very good season for them. Don't expect the Raging Cajuns to fall off again anytime soon. I'm thinking they're going to be a consistent top contender in this conference. Next, we look at the Marshall Thundering Herd. This team kind of stormed in out of nowhere to win the conference. I don't think people expected this.
And I would consider them a bit of a conference misfit.
You think so?
A little bit. They just style of play and then location. Yeah, they
Their
got Virginia.
location's not that much different. I mean, they're next to James Madison. They're both right there. Appalachian State's nearby.
Send them to the American.
I don't think Marshall fans want to go there. No, but yeah, I gave them an A for their season. It was very, very good. I think if they could have figured out their quarterback situation earlier, they could have even done better.
I never gave my grade. A plus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they had a rough stretch against Virginia Tech and Ohio State, and then lost a 1-point game to fellow Sun Belt contender Georgia Southern, but then pretty much handled business outside of that.
Yeah. I mean, went on an absolute roll to end the year. Obviously, did not play in their bowl game because they had the weird situation where their coach ended up leaving for a team within the conference. Took a lot of players with, a lot of other players transferred out, and ultimately they didn't even have a roster to really compete with for the bowl game. So that was kind of disappointing for them. But I think if they could have figured out the quarterback situation earlier, they had a shot at Virginia Tech. They had a shot to upset them. They had a big lead against Georgia Southern and lost that lead. So like what the season could look like with those two wins could have been completely different. But, in the end, still a very good season for the Marshall Thundering Herd. We saw them kind of return to prominence a little bit. Now, obviously, it's going to be a tiny bit of a reset, I think. But overall, I think Marshall football is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Next, we look at the Old Dominion Monarchs. This team faced a very difficult schedule, came up in some close losses. Like, I think a lot of people forget this team nearly beat South Carolina in the season opener. Ended up missing out on a bowl game though, going 5-7. How would you grade this season?
I give them like one of my weirdest grades, a C-/D plus. I feel like they're right on the border. Like if A is 90 to 100, B is 80 to 90. I give them like a 69 or a 70. Um, like they had a few wins. They were kind of right there in bowl contention. They did compete against South Carolina. Um, but they didn't like they lost 3 1-score games near the end of the year. I feel like those were games that in game they could have handled it.
Yeah, like this is a hard grade to give because this team did like to be in 1-score games. Like they they lost to South Carolina 1-score game, lost to East Carolina 1-score game, beat Bowling Green in a 1-score game, lost to Coastal Carolina in a 1-score game, beat Georgia State in a 1-score game, and then lost the 3 straight there, Appalachian State, James Madison, and Marshall in 1-score games. Then took down the 1-score game Masters, Arkansas State in a 1-score game. Like
They
it
were
just
in
was
9.
very
They had 9 1-score games.
yeah
For those
yeah
of you keeping count at home.
most of the schedule wasn't. By the way, 2 of their not 1-score games were against good teams. Like their 2 biggest wins were a 10-point win over Texas State and then an absolute destruction over Georgia Southern. Like, so that was kind of the hard part too. Was it was like, okay, so did this team have this ability there all along? Like, I ended up giving them a C+ for it. I was happy with some of the wins they pulled off. They had a tough schedule, a very tough draw, but didn't make a bowl game. Didn't make a bowl game. Next, we look at the South Alabama Jaguars. They went 7-6. How would you grade their season?
They didn't really stand out to me at all. So it was like hard to grade them because they just seemed to kind of blend in with mediocrity. I gave them a C. They did win. They did have a winning record, but they didn't really do much.
Yeah, first year head coach, all of that. Like, just they took some losses that would kind of frustrate you a little bit, but like, yeah, outside of the win at Louisiana, they really didn't do a whole lot. They didn't do anything special, really, was kind of the thing. I mean, yeah, they put up 87 in poor old Northwestern State, but just nothing special from this team. It was but again, first year head coach, so I think a step down was expected as well. This was very much like the team that was hardest to talk about because there wasn't a whole lot. They weren't wildly above expectations, below expectations. They were just kind of here. I gave them a C+. Very solid season, and I think they're building for the future. Gio Lopez is an electric playmaker, quarterback, so I think with that piece, they'll continue to rise. Now we look at the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, 1-11 for this once proud program.
F. They lost every single FBS game that they played.
Yeah, this season was rough,
but they did get Marshall's head coach and most of their players.
Yes. Yeah, the future's looking better than the present. This was 2024 was a very forgettable year. Like this was very close to the Ellis Johnson disaster. That's how bad this season was. Really just all systems failed. And they've moved on now. They have taken a coach fresh off a Sun Belt championship. So, I think we're gonna see Southern Miss get restored as a top team in this conference. I want to see it. Like, we grew up on Southern Miss being one of the best teams in Conference USA at the time. They were up there. This is back when Conference USA was a banger too. Like they had TCU, UC, Louisville in that conference. Like they were good. And Southern Miss was one of the top teams, like taking down good Nebraska teams, taking down Alabama. Like this is stuff that Southern Miss used to do. They used to be the team in Conference USA that you did not want to schedule because they were capable of pulling upsets.
They used to do something.
And it's just been so rough for them lately. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to what Charles Huff can do there. For now, I give him an F because this season was just an unmitigated disaster. Yeah. Next, we look at, this is a tough one to grade, Texas State Bobcats. So this was the hot team of the offseason. Lots of excitement, lots of expectations. A lot of people thought, maybe this team could crash the college football playoff. They ended up going 8-5, which is tied for the best season in program history at the FBS level. But that wasn't quite what we were all talking about in the offseason. So how would you grade it?
I would give them a C. They were in the conversation of the G5 team that would make the college football playoff. They didn't do it. They did have a winning record, so I can't penalize them too much. But, I mean, you can't – if you're going to be that great, you can't lose to Sam Houston. You can't lose to Old Dominion. Louisville was kind of a anomaly because they ended up being like a wagon for most of the year. But
Louisiana?
That's what I'd say.
You said Louisville for some reason.
Oh, yeah, Louisiana. I do that every time with them. And then Georgia State, you can't really lose to them if you're looking to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah, losing to Georgia State. Yeah. I mean, and the funny thing is, like, don't forget, like, early in the year too, they hosted an Arizona State team that went to the playoff, and they nearly won that game. So, like, I mean, this is a legitimate team. They had it there, but they just had moments where they just didn't play their best ball. I mean, they had a quick, like, 22-0 lead on Sam Houston and ended up losing that game. So, like, it just was situations like that kind of they sort of overachieved and underachieved kind of in the same way. I copped out and just gave him a B because, in the end, it still is one of the best seasons in program history. But, I couldn't go any higher because they probably should have achieved more.
Yeah.
Now we look at the Troy Trojans. I do think that some Notre Dame fans still thank them for hiring their offensive coordinator away and saying that Troy helped them to get to the national championship. So there is that. Troy kind of had to remake the roster a bit and ended up going 4-8. How would you grade the season?
I give them a D. They did beat Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
They ended the season looking better. It was hard to tell what to expect of this team to begin with because, they're coming off of back-to-back Sun Belt championships, but new head coach, completely new crop of players pretty much. Everything was changing. So it was kind of hard to say, this team could keep at that level. It was very much apparent they weren't going to. When they lost their season opener to Nevada, it was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a long ride. I gave them a C-. This is first year, kind of trying to build some stuff. They looked better at the end of the season than they started the season. So, I like to see that with a team with a new coach. Tells me, they're making progress throughout the year and that, maybe they can they can kind of figure some things out and get back to at least a bowl game next year. And then finally, we wrap up the Sun Belt with the UL Monroe Warhawks. This team was a team that we very quickly, we were very much pushing them before the season because we felt like they were a great team in College Football 25 to use because they need more support. The Warhawks then opened the season starting 5-1, who went over James Madison. And it was like, here we go. We're going, they've only made one bowl game in program history. They can make another. Schedule got kind of tough down the stretch, and they didn't win again. How would you grade your season?
Well, no Warhawk November showed up.
Yeah,
I gave them a C plus, kind of D minus area. They were projected to not do anything. Like, there were some analysts who were like, when is this team going to win again? Like prior to the season, they were like, they may lose every single game on their schedule. And they start out.
This is called team number 134. Like a lot of people said they were going to be the last place team in all of college football. And that was the thing. Not. They quickly showed that was wrong.
Yeah. Aside from like a Texas annihilation, which a lot of teams got annihilated by Texas this season, but aside from that, they were on a roll, and then the bottom just fell out, and they were just like, all right, well, we exceeded expectations. See you guys next year. Would have loved to see them win one more game, but they did face Marshall, a solid Texas State team, Auburn, a solid I keep wanting to say Arkansas because we make fun of that all the time, but Arkansas State team, and finish it up with Louisiana. So they did have a rough stretch at the end of the season, but yeah, C plus.
Yeah, I gave them a B plus. Again, because they far and away exceeded expectations. This is still one of the best seasons they've had as an FBS program. They kind of, looking at this team in hindsight, they kind of strike me as a team that, they got some good coaching in there, kind of ended up playing above their talent level a little bit. But then, as you get later in the season, the schedule remained tough. Attrition kind of took over a little bit, and they weren't able to get any more wins. So, I would have liked to see that one more win get in there, but again, they just, it was tough to find it. It was very tough to find it, but huge steps in the right direction. I am looking forward to 2025 being the year that the UL Monroe Warhawks finally reach a bowl game.
Yeah.
Go Warhawks. Make it happen.
Well, that is the show today. As a reminder, we will be on a NASCAR this weekend. On Friday, 3/7 at 8 p.m. on FS1. Our logo will be on either the B or the C pillar for Brayton Laster's 06 ARCA Menards series race car. You can watch him win because we're going to be on the car and we're winners. So we're super excited about that. We won a contest, didn't have to pay anything. That was fantastic. So Brayton, thank you so much for allowing us to win that contest and put us on the side of your car or back. So thanks, Brayton.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty incredible moment for the show. Like we are a small show based out of Ohio, and our logo is going to be on a ARCA series car all the way in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. So a whole new market. Brayton, if you're watching, if you can maybe just point to us, if you want to be as kind to say something about us, that'd be great. We do understand how NASCAR works, so you do have to give a shout out to the paid sponsors. But if you want to give a shout out to the unpaid sponsors, well,
yeah, you gotta shout out your paid sponsors before you shout out us freeloaders.
yeah. And
This is the definition of along for the ride.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the fact that his Twitter handle is the one pizza man, fantastic.
Amazing.
Wouldn't have wanted to be on anybody else's car. So thanks, Brayden, for allowing us to be on your car this weekend. If you do not follow us at Updog Sports Talk on every social media, we're verified now. So look for the green or blue check mark. And except for TikTok, it's super complicated. It's just at Updog Sports Talk. Nothing else to it. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. We love hearing from people looking to grow this channel. If we're on the back of the NASCAR, we have high expectations. So been a great week for us. We're going to ride that high all the way through Friday, and see you guys next week.
See you next week. Hopefully Bowling Green has a coach by then.
Hopefully. We'll see. Probably not. See you guys.
Still no coach.